What drives a civilization to spill blood in the name of the divine? To carve flesh and bone as an offering to unseen forces? Across the ages, humanity has danced with darkness, weaving rituals so brutal they linger like shadows in the corners of history. These are not mere stories. They are windows into the raw, untamed soul of our past, where fear, power, and the sacred collided in acts that defy comprehension. Welcome, seekers of hidden truths, to a journey into the heart of humanity's most cruel rituals. In this video, we'll unravel the chilling practices of ancient cultures, tales of scalps hung like trophies, hearts torn still beating from chests, and children offered to appease wrathful gods. From the windswept steppes of the Scythians to the blood-soaked altars of the Aztecs, we'll explore why these societies embraced such savagery and what these acts reveal about the human spirit. Prepare to step into a world where the line between reverence and horror blurs, where the sacred and the sinister entwine. We'll uncover the historical and philosophical roots of these rituals, dissect their eerie details, and reflect on their haunting legacy. By the end, you'll see not just the darkness of these practices, but the flickering light of meaning they sought to ignite. In the tapestry of human history, rituals are the threads that bind communities to their gods, their ancestors, and their deepest fears. But when these threads are soaked in blood, they tell a story not just of devotion, but of a primal dance with mortality itself. To understand the cruel rituals of ancient civilizations, we must step into the minds of those who saw the world as a battleground of cosmic forces, where life and death were currencies paid to appease the divine. Across ancient texts and whispered legends, from Herodotus's accounts of the Scythians to the chilling codices of the Aztecs, we find societies gripped by a profound belief. The gods demanded sacrifice, and the greater the offering, the greater the favor. The Scythians, nomadic warriors of the Eurasian steppes, saw death as a gateway to power, their rituals a brutal poetry of conquest and survival. The Aztecs, in their vibrant yet blood-soaked cities, believed the sun itself would falter without the pulse of human hearts. The Carthaginians, masters of trade and war, turned to their children in times of crisis, offering them to the flames of Moloch to secure divine protection. These acts, though horrific to modernize, were not mere cruelty, they were sacred contracts, etched in flesh and fire, to ensure the world's continuation. Philosophically, these rituals reflect a universal tension, the human need to control the uncontrollable. As the Greek philosopher Empedocles mused, life is born from strife and love, a cycle of creation and destruction. These cultures, from the Celts to the Vikings, embodied this truth, their sacrifices a desperate attempt to wrestle meaning from chaos. In their world, blood was not just life, it was a bridge to the divine, a currency of cosmic balance. These rituals shaped empires, defined faiths, and left echoes that still haunt us. They ask us to confront not just the darkness of the past, but the questions it raises about our own beliefs and boundaries. The Scythians, nomadic terrors of the Ukrainian steppes, wove a tapestry of violence that chilled even their fiercest rivals. Herodotus wrote of their savagery with a trembling quill. After felling an enemy, they would scalp them with precise, practiced cuts. The dripping hides sewn into cloaks or hung from their horses' bridles, swaying like grotesque pendants in the wind. These scalps were not just trophies, but talismans, believed to carry the vanquished soul's power. More ghastly, they fashioned drinking cups from their enemies' skulls, hollowed and adorned with gold, their lips touching bone as they drank, whispering to the spirits within. Their war god, Ares, thirsted for more than wine. Human sacrifices were bound, their throats slit in moonlit ceremonies, blood pooling in the dust as offerings. When a king died, the ritual turned apocalyptic. His wife, concubines, and loyal servants were strangled, their bodies contorted in the tomb alongside disemboweled horses, all to serve him in the afterlife. Some accounts whisper of warriors slicing their own flesh in grief, their blood mingling with the king's, the air thick with the reek of decay and despair. Burial mounds rose like scars on the land, sealed with curses to guard the dead and their secrets. In the shadow of Tenochtitlan's pyramids, the Aztecs performed rituals that turned their city into a slaughterhouse for the gods. Their belief was merciless. Without human blood, the sun would falter, plunging the world into eternal night. Captives, warriors, slaves, even children were hauled up the blood-slicked steps of the Templo Mayor, their hearts pounding as priests loomed with obsidian blades. At the apex, victims were pinned to altars, their chests carved open in a single brutal stroke, hearts torn out, still pulsing, held aloft to Huitzilopochtli as blood cascaded down the pyramid like a crimson river. The bodies were flung down the steps, bones cracking on stone, to be dismembered below. In the festival of Xipet Totec, the horror twisted further. Victims were flayed alive, their screams echoing as priests donned their dripping skins, dancing in grotesque parody to channel the dead's fertility. Some rituals demanded children, their tears seen as divine rain, their small hearts offered amid wails that haunted the city. The stench of blood and charred flesh clung to the air, a constant reminder of the gods' insatiable hunger. Excavations reveal mass graves, skulls stacked in racks, a testament to thousands who fed this cosmic machine. In Carthage's shadowed streets, the name Moloch was a whisper of dread, a god whose fiery embrace claimed the city's most innocent. During crises, war, famine, or plague, the Carthaginians offered their children to his brazen altar, believing their sacrifice would turn divine wrath to favor. Archaeological tophets reveal the scale of this horror. Vast cemeteries of urns filled with the ashes of infants, some barely months old, their throats slit with ceremonial blades before their tiny bodies were cast into flames. The fires roared as priests chanted, drowning out the screams, while parents stood frozen, torn between devotion and despair. Some sources claim the wealthiest families substituted slaves' children, but the bones tell no lies. Hundreds, perhaps thousands, met this fate. In dire times, the rituals grew frenzied. Multiple siblings from a single family burned together, their remains mingled in a single urn. The air was choked with acrid smoke, the ground stained with soot as the city prayed for salvation. Ancient accounts describe Moloch's statue, its metal arms glowing red-hot, receiving each child as if swallowing them into an endless void. These acts, though born of faith, cast a shadow that lingers in Carthage's ruins. In the misty forests of ancient Britain, the Celts performed rituals that turned the night into a theater of horror. Their druids, cloaked in mystery and wielding sacred sickles, were said to commune with gods who demanded blood for bounty. The most terrifying of these was the Wicker Man, a towering effigy woven from branches, its hollow belly a cage for the doomed. Victims, criminals, captives, or even the innocent chosen by fate were locked inside, their pleas swallowed by the roar of the crowd. As the Druids chanted, flames devoured the structure, the screams of the burning mingling with the crackle of wood, their agony believed to coax the gods into granting fertile fields or victory in war. Roman accounts, like those of Julius Caesar, describe entire communities watching these infernos, their faces lit by the flickering glow, convinced the sacrifice purified their land. Some whispers tell of Druids reading omens in the victims' screams, believing the pitch and duration revealed divine approval. Archaeological hints, charred bones in ritual pits, suggest these were not mere tales, but grim realities. The Celts saw life as a cycle, and in their world, fire was both destroyer and creator, a gateway to the gods' favor. Yet the memory of those screams lingers, a haunting echo in Britain's ancient groves. The Vikings, sea wolves of Scandinavia, carved their legends in blood and iron, their rituals as fierce as their raids. Among their most dreaded practices was the blood eagle, a ritual execution so gruesome it blurs the line between myth and history. Described in sagas like the Orkneyinga saga, this act was reserved for the most despised enemies. The victim was bound face down, their backs sliced open with a blade that bit through flesh and bone. The executioner would sever the ribs from the spine, pulling them outward to form grotesque wings, then draw the lungs through the wounds, leaving them to flutter as the victim gasped their last. The ritual, if it truly existed, was not just punishment, but a message, a spectacle of vengeance meant to terrify foes and honor the gods. Some accounts claim the victim was kept alive as long as possible, their screams a hymn to Odin. Beyond the blood eagle, Viking rituals included human sacrifices at Uppsala, where 9 men were hanged every 9 years, their bodies left to sway in sacred groves, offerings to ensure divine favor. The Volsunga saga hints at darker rites, captives buried alive or drowned in bogs, their souls sent to appease restless spirits. The Vikings believed death was a doorway, and their rituals ensured it was crossed with blood, leaving behind tales that chill even the stoutest hearts. These rituals, though horrific, were not mindless cruelty. The Celts' Wicker Man was a communal act, binding tribes through shared sacrifice. Yet its brutality shocked even the battle-hardened Romans, who themselves reveled in gladiatorial slaughter. The blood eagle's existence is debated. Some scholars argue it was poetic exaggeration, a Viking boast to terrify enemies. Yet the saga's vivid details suggest a kernel of truth. Both cultures shared a belief in sacrifice as a bridge to the divine, but their methods varied wildly. The Celts' fiery spectacles were public, meant to unify, while the Vikings' rituals were often intimate, personal acts of retribution. Lesser-known aspects deepened the horror. Celtic bog bodies, preserved with slit throats, suggest ritual killings beyond the Wicker Man, while Viking graves reveal sacrificed slaves, their bodies broken to serve their masters in death. These acts raise questions. Were they driven by faith, fear, or a need to assert control over a chaotic world? The contradiction lies in their duality. Acts of unimaginable cruelty born from a desperate yearning for meaning, survival, and divine approval. We have journeyed through the shadowed corridors of history, where ancient civilizations spilled blood to speak with the divine. From the Scythians' gilded skulls and scalped trophies, to the Aztecs' heart-wrenching altars, to the Carthaginians' fiery offerings of their own children, we've uncovered rituals that haunt the edges of human understanding. The Celts' Wicker Man blazed with screams for fertile fields, while the Vikings carved their vengeance into the very lungs of their foes. These acts, steeped in gore and terror, were not mere violence. They were sacred pacts, desperate bids to wrestle order from a world ruled by chaos and capricious gods. Yet, as we stand in the glow of modernity, these rituals demand reflection. They reveal a paradox. Humanity's deepest yearning for meaning can birth both beauty and horror. The Scythians saw power in death. The Aztecs, salvation in sacrifice. The Carthaginians, hope in loss. The Celts and Vikings, too, wove their beliefs into acts that shock us, yet were as vital to them as breath. These practices, though cruel, were mirrors of their time, reflections of societies grappling with mortality, divinity, and the fragile balance of existence. They ask us to confront our own rituals, our own sacrifices, however subtle they may be. What do we offer to our gods, be they faith, ambition, or fear? Let these tales linger in your mind, not as relics of a barbaric age, but as whispers of humanity's eternal quest for purpose. Reflect on the shadows within these stories and within yourself. Subscribe, share your thoughts below, and join us as we continue to unravel the mysteries of the human soul. What sacrifices do you see in the world today? The altar awaits your answer.